need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something. We found something. We found something.
12 men have just discovered something. For 100,000 years, it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to live. Inside. Where no one can see it, or hear it, or feel it.
I know I'm human. Some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? He can beat one of those things!
Tonight we're going to get into John Carpenter's 1982 classic, The Thing. So let's get at it. Hey guys, before we get started tonight, we have a big announcement. We are excited to announce our partnership with DUBBY Energy Drinks. These drinks are perfect for gym sessions, those late night movie sessions, video game sessions, or whatever you might be doing in the middle of the night, or even in the day. So if you need a quick pick-me-up, grab you a DUBBY and get cracking. Don't forget to use code REMEMBERTHAT for 10% off your entire purchase. And if you guys want to reach out and contact us with a, show idea or something like that, email us at rememberthatpodcast@yahoo.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button because it helps us grow and helps us continue to do this thing we love to do. So having said that, let's get into the show.
Yo, we rolling deep, let's dive into the fright. Hit that play button, we review every bite. From horror flicks that give you chills at night to games that thrill, yeah, we get it right. Remember that, step back, hold tight. We'll dissect every scare, keep the vibe right. Remember that, we're here to expose the thrills, the chills where the dark wind blows. From pixels on screens to the sound that glows. Join us forever, that's how the story goes.
Tonight we're going to talk about the movie The Thing, and it was a 1982 American science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter, from a screenplay by Bill Lancaster based on the 1938 John W. Campbell novella, Who Goes There? It tells the story of a group of American researchers in Antarctica who encounter the eponymous, I can't say that word, thing, an extraterrestrial life form that assimilates, then imitates other organisms. The group is overcome by paranoia and conflict as they learn they can no longer trust each other and that any of them could be the thing. Cade, tell us who this movie stars, buddy.
Yeah, this has a pretty big cast. 12 guys make this up. Got one random Norwegian guy, and got a really good, well-behaved dog that are in this movie. So, got Kurt Russell playing McCready, the main guy in this movie. We have Dr. Blair, the crazy man who ends up getting put in a outside building. He's played by Wilford Brimley. And then we got Childs played by Keith David. I feel like I've seen him in some other films.
I wonder if Wilford Brimley had diabetes when he filmed this movie.
Diabetes. And diabetes testing supplies.
Yeah. He might have. And there's several other guys that we'll talk about in this movie. I don't want to list all of them so it doesn't get too repetitive, but I do have some box office numbers. Brent's not here to give his awesome take on that, but I'll do so after I pull these up real quick for you guys. So this movie had a budget of $15 million. Didn't gross a lot of money in the U.S. According to two sources. One source says it only grossed $14 million, while the other says it grossed about $20 million. And then internationally, it really didn't hit very well either at 792,000. And I think Bryson's got some additional details that he wanted to talk about with this too.
Let's hear it, Professor.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's honestly one of my favorites, and the fact that it tanked so bad in the box office, it hurts to hear that because this movie is just awesome. But there was a couple of factors that went into this movie bombing so bad. One, the practical effects turned out to be a benchmark for practical effects moving forward in the future of movie making, and I think some people weren't really ready for that amount of like grossness when it comes to those practical effects. Another big hit was E.T. Our favorite little guy from outer space came out just a couple of weeks before this movie came out, and the thing came out right at the same time as Blade Runner. So you kind of had these three movies competing at the box office, and I mean, we can be honest about it. E.T. killed. Like, Steven Spielberg knocked it out the park. Everybody loves that movie. So I think having such a friendly alien that everybody now loves and is going to the stores and buying all these gifts for their kids with little ET toys and stuffed animals and stuff. I think like just a couple weeks after that, bringing America just something so raw from outer space was a little bit too like opposite of what just got really popular.
Yeah, people were wanting those good aliens, that phone home and stuff like.
I think it just really just put everybody that was the market in a mood to want to watch E.T. That was also back where people would go to the movie theaters a couple of times to go watch a movie again. Even though I grew up in an era where I had VHS and then DVDs as I got a little bit older, I still went and saw Shrek twice in theater. So, if if these people are going to go watch E.T. over and over again, the thing just kind of didn't really hit with what people were wanting. Which was a huge disappointment to John Carpenter because he does admit that out of all the movies he made, this is his personal favorite movie that he made. And it was a huge letdown to hear the critics talk about this and just how bad it did. But once it came to VHS and it became something people could watch at home, that's when that cult following got created. And they actually did really well years later.
Yeah, you get a lot of movies like that. Like, we done Return of the Living Dead. I don't think it done that good at the box office, but once it hit, home video, that's when it really got its cult following and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at movies like Monster Squad. Monster Squad come out in 1987 and it flopped. Nobody watched it. It was almost straight to video. And now it's got a huge cult following. Everybody loves Monster Squad now. It's one of those things, it almost grows in popularity the older it gets. And, for years, because I never was into alien movies myself, I'm going back and I'm rewatching some of this stuff. And man, movies like Aliens, The Thing, all of that stuff, they're great movies and I love them now, And
Yes.
so,
Absolutely.
I'm part of that statistic, I guess, that has helped make these movies into the cult classics that they are now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, guys, let's get into it, man. Y'all ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, man.
All right,
Let's do
man.
it.
This film opens by establishing the extreme isolation of an American research outpost in Antarctica. This harsh environment is violently disrupted by a Norwegian helicopter chasing and shooting at a single sled dog. After the Norwegians destroy their own craft and kill themselves, the American crew, led by helicopter pilot R.J. McCready, takes in the mysterious dog. Their investigation of the abandoned Norwegian base leads them to a gruesome, assimilated corpse and critically the discovery of an ancient alien spacecraft buried in the ice. The threat is immediately realized when the seemingly harmless dog transforms in the kennel, revealing its identity as the Thing, a parasitic life form that can perfectly assimilate and imitate any organism. The first phase concludes with a horrific realization that the alien is now among them, indistinguishable from a human. So, guys, that was the first part of the movie, man. Just what do you think about it?
Yep.
What was your take on it, man?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start if you guys don't mind. I
Go
was
for
really
it,
looking forward
buddy.
to talking about this
Do it.
because this movie really captivated me. Starting out by having this guy chase this dog in a helicopter, you really don't understand what's going on. And of course, the very beginning of the movie, we see a UFO hurtling towards Earth. going towards Antarctica. So you kind of already understand, okay, this is about to be some kind of alien. But as soon as the dog, breaks in, and after of course Gary shoots the Norwegian guy, just breaking the window from afar, you immediately start to see like the dog behaving in really abnormal ways. And of course we have Clark who takes the dog in, and that's my first thought is, okay, if I had kind of a foundation that this thing doesn't affect people, I thought that maybe Clark was going to get infected because he's tending to the dog's wounds. Um, and you just see the dog kind of maneuvering around the facility. And even at one certain point, and this is, I guess, kind of controversial online, you see a silhouette of somebody sitting in a room, and the dog walks in there, leading us to think, okay, this is the first guy who gets infected.
Right.
And so you immediately just start questioning everything. And especially when the dog kind of interrupts everybody as they're playing poker and kind of just relaxing inside the facility. Clark takes the dog back there, and the dog, like kudos whoever trained this dog, like lays down, like literally. I've never seen a dog behave like that before. My dog would be like jumping on everybody in there, and
Yeah,
lays
no
down, and all
doubt.
the other dogs just like stare at him. So like, how did that scene make you guys feel when that dog kind of sat down, just staring straight forward? It made me feel like super like uneased and very confused as to, like, what the heck's this thing doing? Like, literally, what's this
You know
thing
what the
doing?
most disturbing part of that whole scene was? Like when the dog, busts out and shows us what it really is, but the dog that's so scared is over in the corner trying to eat his way through the fence, man. That is terror right there. Could you
Yeah.
imagine being so scared you're going to eat a metal fence to try to get out of
Yeah.
there? That struck me as
I
like,
can't-
wow, man, that's how you putting fear out there. You know what I'm saying?
One of my favorite. Oh, sorry, Daniel.
No, I was just going to add to what Cade was saying was a lot of that you were talking about, Cade, was done purposely from John Carpenter. So it opens up, and the Norwegians are shooting at the dog, and you don't know why. You think, okay, well, like I'm rooting for the dog at this point, right? Live dog, come on, man, you can
Right,
do
right.
it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and so the dog makes it into the camp, and so you're going, okay, they've shot the Norwegians. So they're like bad guys to me at that point, and should be to everybody else at that point in the movie. But then it quickly starts to turn, like what you were saying, Cade, is the dog is acting kind of funny, right? And so they've shot the Norwegians, and now you're going, okay, maybe they shouldn't have shot those guys. Those guys were shooting at the dog for a reason. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so then Carpenter, with how he filmed the dog's movement, the dog come in contact with everybody
yeah,
in the whole base. Everybody had a scene with the dog, and I feel like that was done purposely. I haven't watched a whole lot of interviews with John Carpenter discussing this movie or whatever, but I do know that he is a master of deception. He's a master of building suspense, and I feel like he was doing that on purpose, especially when the dog it just comes in contact with everybody. It goes into that one room with the guy sitting there. That you know, uh, I think that it was done purposely for a reason.
yeah.
But Bryson, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy. So you go ahead.
Oh no, no, you're good. Outside of the practical effects, which we'll definitely get into, the story of this movie and the way it opens up is one of my favorite things, and what makes me want to watch it again and again. But just that opening scene, like y'all are talking about, them chasing the dog, Daniel hit it right on the head. You're rooting for the dog. You're like, why are they shooting at this thing? Y'all are out in Antarctica. Who cares? Let the dog go. But when the Norwegians get there, he's in such a panic, he throws that grenade and blows up his own helicopter.
Right.
And he doesn't even care. He still, all he wants to do is kill the dog. So you've got this sense of urgency coming from this guy. And as the viewer, you're like, what? It really starts to get you questioning right off the
Yeah.
bat. And if you go back and translate what he's yelling at them, because he is yelling in Norwegian, it says, "Get the hell out of there. That's not a dog. It's some sort of thing. It's imitating a dog. It isn't real. Get away, you idiots." And then
Yeah.
that's when he starts firing. So if they were to have just been able to understand him,
Yep.
this whole movie could have been avoided.
Right.
Um, because he was
'Cause you were
really
from
telling them. And if you were to actually be Norwegian and watch this movie for the
I was
first
about to
time, you
say
know that
that.
it kind of got spoiled for you a little bit
Yeah.
early. But another cool thing Kate had mentioned was that shadow, like that silhouette or shadow where the dog went in. That is actually Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers. He was a stunt coordinator,
Oh yeah.
and Carpenter wanted to use him as that silhouette because any of the other cast members could be too recognizable by like
Yeah.
the shape of them. So they used Nick Castle so you didn't know who that was.
Yeah.
And
I
that
have my
dog scene where he
It's so
starts
crazy.
changing inside of the kennel freaks me out every
Oh
time.
man.
Just
Man,
those like
that is insane.
tentacles coming out of them and the spider legs coming out like
Yes.
that. It
Yes,
gets
man.
And
me every time. That's so
I am
scary.
100% so huge on practical effects. I love practical
Yeah,
effects. I'll take
100%.
practical effects over CGI
This
anytime.
movie's a standard. It's got to be the standard
Yeah.
for it.
And
Oh, most definitely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some super corny effects in this movie, but I love it. And that's part of what makes this movie great for me is, you get to see these kind of effects and it's just awesome.
Yeah, and I guess we'll probably break down like what actually happens here with the dogs. Essentially it starts to morph. The dogs all start barking. I believe maybe Clark or some of the other guys they kind of hear what's going on. They run in there. They immediately see this thing changing. Everybody gets over there. McCready comes up there with a shotgun. I believe Child shows up with a flamethrower. But at one point, I think I remember actually seeing his head, like the thing's head, actually open up, and you see like 12 dog tongues or something like on its
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and I wasn't prepared for like how I guess realistic or how good the special effects were going to be in this movie because I hadn't seen it since I was a little kid. Um, but yeah, I'll let you guys comment more on the monster here, its first appearance.
Well, that's
And it's
more of
like,
that practical effect, but you take off with it, Bryson. Go ahead.
well, like when it really starts changing, because I love the fact that the thing, it never stops changing. Like it continuously keeps turning into something else.
Yeah.
But when it starts spraying that other dog, obviously I'm sure that dog had a blast running back and forth, like chasing a garden hose or whatever. But the way it was filmed, it looked like that dog was freaking out, getting covered in that slime.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of movies had really shown that kind of crazy, like real time transformation something that you wouldn't be able to normally imagine.
100%.
No, the practical effects, blew me away. I honestly thought it was freaking awesome, man. What'd you guys think about when they come across that alien spacecraft that was buried in the ice in there? And that's when stuff's about to get real.
That's
Yeah,
super
'cause,
eerie.
Yeah, because Norris and McCready they agreed, I guess, to go to the Norwegian base to try to find evidence of what's going on, any kind of ideas like what they need to do, and of course, they discover the spaceship, but they also discover a corpse, and it's a really mangled corpse. Like you see this guy's face, like one end is up here, the other end is down here, like one end is like screaming in agony, and he's got frozen blood like coming out of him, like it's insane looking. And they take him back, and this is when we get to see Blair do his thing, and he performs the autopsy on the creature. One thing that I noticed too that was really weird, I'm curious what you guys think. Blair does the autopsy, he's cutting it open, he's got like a pen in his hand, he puts the pen up to his mouth, and I'm almost wondering if like this is what Bryce was talking about, or Daniel, where they talk about how John Carpenter just does all these random things that makes you think like, is he infected now? But then you realize, okay, he's actually not, because he goes into his room and starts going crazy, and you wouldn't think the monster would do this. I just loved like aspects like that about the movie. I thought that made it so much more interesting.
Well, we will get to that because that's a question that I want to pose at the right time concerning
Yeah.
Clark. He's the doctor, but he's also the first one that discovered, okay, there's something off about what we saw. Like it can imitate stuff. He's watching the cells on the computer screen.
Yeah, he does a simulation on his computer.
He's watching the cells like attack the good sales and whatnot. And so he starts to understand this thing can emulate people, and this thing that's how this thing survives, basically. And of course, once he figures it out, there's immediate distrust of everybody, and he kind of has a meltdown. Takes an axe, busts up all the computers, which is kind of an Alien ripoff. If you'll remember Ripley and everybody talking to their little computer, and it was talking about the percentage of survival and all of that. That's kind of what this movie was kind of going on Alien's coattails. But Clark kind of freaks out, full on diabetes, and he's needing his testing supplies, and freaks out, and eventually gets jailed in an outside, basically kind of. I'm not real sure if it was a I don't know if it was
like
a
an outhouse, like shed.
Yeah, and so once he freaks out, he tells which kind of adds to kind of how the movie keeps on going. Clark actually tells MacReady, watch so and so, because that's who I think is infected.
Yeah, he actually Blair said to watch Clark. Clark's the guy that was actually like getting all the dogs and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Blair's the doctor.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So Blair was the doctor.
There's a lot of guys in this outpost. It's kind of hard to.
Dude, I can't remember all the names. It's tough.
I get the names mixed up, but yes, the doctor Wilford Brimley tells him watch Clark, and Clark, if you'll remember, he was one of the Losers Club from It in the 1990 movie.
What?
If you remember that? Yeah.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he played Stanley. He was the one that killed himself in the bathtub.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, kind of moving forward, I'm not real sure where we're at as far as pacing in the movie at this point. But Blair has freaked out. He has now been kind of contained in this outbuilding type place. MacReady has already seen, enough. He's starting to piece together what Blair's talking about. So we'll just kind of take it up from there.
Yeah. So around this time, the corpse that was frozen, that they had been messing with, begins to kind of unthaw a little bit. And you actually see at one point Bennings, and for some reason this guy's name is Windows. Like, that's such a weird name. I think it's because he wears sunglasses all the time or something. They're in the room together, and I believe Windows leaves for some reason, and Bennings is kind of just left in there chilling out. Well, all of a sudden, you hear like some ruckus in that room, and you go back in there, and yet again, we see another scene with these the crazy practical effects where Bennings is getting like completely ransacked by the creature, and you see tentacles flying around everywhere. One thing that is really interesting about this scene too is when Windows initially like sees him, he's shocked. Well, you hear him drop something, and he actually drops a set of keys. And this becomes really important later on in the film whenever everybody's wanting to do basically this blood test, and they realize all the blood's missing. How could the keys have gotten away? And I'm thinking that maybe John Carpenter was alluding to like, Windows dropped the keys, maybe one of the other guys that was infected, because at this point, there's actually a couple of guys that are infected that we don't know about. And I'm thinking maybe one of them picked up the keys.
Right.
But that's kind of like what happens after we see old Blair start to lose his marbles.
That's right.
One funny thing about Windows is it wasn't even planned, and I never picked it up until looking some more stuff up about this movie. But you've got Windows and Mac in one movie.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. I heard that on a podcast today myself.
But apparently he wanted to be called Windows. He was going to be called something else, but he was on set, always wearing sunglasses, and he told John Carpenter, he said, "I'm changing my character's name to Windows, like as his nickname." And John Carpenter was like, "Yeah, that's cool," and he just went with it.
That's cool.
And right after this, we see Bennings actually. Everybody kind of groups up on him. He's outside in the snow, and they burn him. And I believe this is where like he makes that really, really unnerving scream. And it's like
Yes.
apparently it's like a combination of like all of the organisms that the thing has kind of taken over. Apparently it's like the mixture of a dog, a human, maybe some other animals. I'm not sure, but the scream is really eerie. And then they freaking light him ablaze too.
Yeah. And then
Well,
from that
Clark, if you
point,
want to. Oh, my bad, Daniel.
no, I was just going basically trying to keep pace with the movie. At this point, this is where we actually see like it come out of, and I can't think of what that guy's name is, but the alien actually comes out of him and it's got
Oh,
his
you're talking
head
about
up,
Norris.
and like that. No, okay,
Yep.
Norris.
Yep.
This happened shortly after they burned the guy in the snow, and so the alien at this point now, they're sitting there, and I can see the wheels in McCready's head turning. He's like, okay, we've burnt the dog, and then it whatever this is escaped, and then it
Why
got
is that
Yeah.
funny to me?
and then we burnt this other guy, and then it escaped again because now we've got this thing coming out of dude. So it is every time that they try to kill it, even with fire, there's some part of it that is getting away, and even it throws in some Halloween vibes in it to where McCready and I don't know if it's Childs or whoever is kind of standing there,
Yeah.
and they're looking at kind of what happened, and you see this thing with dude's head, and it just crawls out the door.
Yeah, it's like it's like a
and
little
it's like,
spider. It's like
Loomis
little
looking
spider.
for Michael, and Michael kind of just
Right,
goes out
right.
behind him. That reminded me of that, but it shows the resiliency of this thing. It's like,
Yeah.
even though they're taking all these precautions, they can't kill it. And so now there's distrust among the whole group, because now at this point, McCready has already talked on, his little recording saying, if none of us makes it, I want to have evidence of what was going on, and he's kind of put that tape up. He's already done that, which I feel like is kind of some foreshadowing from John Carpenter. But, now the group is down, what, 2 guys now, 3 guys at this point?
Yeah.
I did want to back up real quick
Oh, I'm sorry.
and
Go ahead.
talk, just kind of cover the scene a little bit more, where the guy is, the aliens coming out of him or the things coming out of him. When he kind of stops breathing and they get him on the table, and the doc has got like the defibrillators trying to bring him back.
Yeah.
I think this is yeah, like when he goes to put the defibrillators down, and his
Then his
stomach
whole
just
chest
opens
just
up, and
that's
just
awesome.
rips his
Big teeth,
arms
dude.
off. It was
It's
actually
great.
pretty cool. So when his arms got ripped off, Carpenter had hired a guy who was a double amputee, and he
I
wore
saw
a
that,
mask.
dude.
Yeah, to look like the actor. So that the guy, when he was waving his arms around, it was actually somebody who was a double amputee. But I never knew that. But that whole scene of like his arms getting bitten off with that, like his stomach just opening up and then
Yeah.
just stomach coming out of it, like this grotesque, deformed creature. They're trying to kill it. Doc over here is screaming and dying for blood loss. And the whole time, the head of this dude is just separating itself off the body so that it like just thumps to the ground. Little wires start coming out of it, spider legs. Like that scene is just top tier for me. Like I could
Yes.
just watch that scene and it would make my day better because of how awesome it is and how those practical effects were done. I mean, the guy that did the practical effects, what was his name?
I thought I had it too. I can't remember off the top. I know
Yeah,
he
I
works
had it.
forever
It's
on it.
like Rob something. Oh, Rob Botton, or I'm pretty sure it's
Yes, that's
pronounced
right.
Botton.
Yeah.
So he was only 22 years old when he did this movie,
Yep.
and he
You're right
led
about
a
the
whole
name.
team of 40 people. So to be
Yeah.
22 years old, to lead a whole team of 40 people, and to create these special effects is just wow. That that guy's
That's
gonna have a big
unreal.
career.
Shoot, yeah.
Yeah, he
But
he
yeah,
worked
I
so
just
hard
wanted
on
to
it. He had to
bring
go to
that
the
scene up.
hospital apparently. Like he worked for
Yeah,
like a straight year, every day, 7 days a week. Had to go to the hospital due to exhaustion and ulcers because of how long he
yep.
worked on it. Like he was
He
legit like
Wow.
pouring You could
He
tell,
lived
like,
on
it's
set.
top notch.
Like, he would just sleep there because there was just so much to do.
Well, shoot,
But, yeah, I
yeah.
just wanted to go back and check that scene out. Corky, I know you had kind of given us a summary overview of the first part of the movie. Are we a little bit past your summary overview
Yeah.
of the middle part of the movie?
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties there, but I'll tell you guys what, I'll go ahead and read this and we can just take it from there. How does that sound?
That sounds
Uh,
Go
good.
ahead.
As far as the middle part of the movie, it says, with all external communication and transportation sabotaged by one of their own, Blair in parentheses, the crew is now completely isolated, and the tension shifts from fighting a known monster to fighting an unknown enemy hiding within their group. This phase is dominated by the theme of paranoia and the breakdown of trust. McReady takes command and devises the ingenious blood test, realizing that a piece of the thing will react and try to escape heat regardless of its host form. The infamous scene where he restrains the remaining men and tests their blood is the climax of this session. Identifying and incinerating the imitations of Palmer and Norris, however, the tests are inconclusive for everyone, and the thing continues to evade total destruction, leaving McCready and the few remaining survivors in a state of absolute nerve-wracking suspicion. So yeah, you guys, they were doing the blood test, going to put a little fire in everybody's blood and see how it reacted. And I thought that was a pretty ingenious thing. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
That was a
because
cool scene.
McCready was, he was accused. Oh, dude, I can't remember his name. He was the chef on the roller skates.
His name was
Yeah,
Knowles.
Windows.
Yeah, Knowles.
Knowles. Knowles actually
Him
left
and
him
Knowles.
outside.
Yes,
He
dude.
left him because he found that piece of clothing with McCready's name on it with holes all shredded in it because they had found that one dude's, long johns had holes all in it. And so McCready had already mentioned before when he was recording that maybe this thing goes through your clothes or somehow your clothes get ripped up when you get assimilated. So now Knowles is seeing McCready because they were going to go out and do a shack because they saw the lights were on. They were also looking for Blair. That's where it shows Blair running from the helicopter. The helicopter's all chopped up by an axe. So their, means of escape is gone. Yeah, he had gotten super suspicious over McCready because of finding a shirt out there. So he leaves him. He comes back in. He's trying to tell everybody, look, McCready, I'm pretty sure he's gone. He's one of the thing now. But McCready comes in pissed, and he's got
Frozen
that
as well.
dynamite and that flare, and he's like, y'all touch me and mess with me, and I'm going to blow all of us up. Like, I don't even care anymore. He
Yeah.
ends up grabbing the blowtorch. He gathers everybody together, and he's like, all right, we're going to figure this out. Like, or we're not going to figure this out, and I'm just going to blow us all up. So that's when he came up with the blood test. And with the blood test, I did want to mention Windows. The way he cut his thumb under his nail like that, I'm like, that dude's a psychopath.
Dude, I know that was hard to watch. Like I can see these guys like get destroyed by teeth that are coming out of their stomach, but I watch someone just like cut their thumb like that. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that
I
just
was the
makes me
same
like-
way.
You out every day.
I was
I
the
know,
same way,
dude.
man. I was just like, oh.
But this was
Everybody
like one
else
of the
is just, right here, but he just kind of digs under that nail a little bit. Like, what a weirdo.
yeah. Like he had, I believe, McReady had everybody lined up. Like he had Gary, Childs, Knowles, and Palmer here. And one thing about this scene that you can notice, everybody's lined up, and as we know, Palmer is the one who's been infected at this point. If you notice everybody's eyes have a little bit of like a light shining in them, like you can see glistening. Whereas when the camera pans to Palmer, it's just completely dull. And he's acting really kind of strange, especially when it comes time to test his blood. He actually has a little bit of a smirk. And then, of course, he tests his blood, and then, boom, it goes crazy. The blood jumps off the tray. And then Palmer turns, and it leads to, like, you see him grab Windows, like, grab his head, and just start ragdolling him around the room. And it was, like, such a crazy scene.
When
And
his
you could
face split open like that,
yes. It
and
was so
just
cool.
bit him, and his legs are like dangling around. Like,
Yeah, and then
if I've got somebody with their face and their head split open, and they're walking at me like arms outstretched, their heads going back and forth, that's going to be the most terrifying thing I could even think to see. Like,
Yes.
you people get scared of like ghosts, and they'll get scared of creepy sounds, especially up here in the Appalachians. But you give me a guy with his head chomping and his arms doing that, like, I don't know,
Yeah,
that
I'm
that
good.
tops it for me. What an imagination for all these practical effects and the way
Yeah.
everybody just kind of morphs into these things.
Oh
And
yeah.
Gary just like, will you please
no
get me
doubt.
off this couch? He's still tied
Yeah,
up.
for real.
Yeah, he like screams it at the end. He was just like, I'm
Yeah,
tired
it's
of
so
being
funny.
on this couch.
Yeah.
But this is probably
What-
getting close to the end. Do you guys think? Well, not the end, but the over halfway. Should we do some trivia?
Yeah, I was saying let's
Yeah.
segue into that trivia this week. Daniel, go for it, buddy.
Sure,
Let's
man.
see who can
Um,
win that title this week.
Well, so this movie, and I'll go ahead and just put this out here. I talked about it earlier, but when I was younger, I didn't watch this movie a whole lot. And so this movie I have kind of rediscovered, and so I was really engrossed in the movie while I was watching it. So I wasn't
Same
able to
here,
come up
man.
with a whole lot of trivia questions, but I think I got about 6. So we'll just go ahead and get started. Number one, if you're paying attention, what song was played when the dog walked into the room with the person sitting there?
Cade.
And Cade, go.
Superstitious.
So it was "Superstition" by Stevie Wonder.
Who sings that? Who?
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, I was about to say Stevie
Oh.
Wonder.
Well,
Yeah, I
who
wouldn't
did
even
you
know
think
that.
it was? Who did
I
you
don't
think
have
it was?
I have no clue. It could
Oh,
have been
my-
Creedence Clearwater Revival for all I know.
I literally just know I just know the chorus for that song. That's literally it.
Man, because I've
At
heard
that,
it about.
that scene. I was too wrapped up in that dog transforming into a spider. That's
Well,
what
that
I was wrapped
happened.
up
That
in.
happened right before that, but I've only heard "Superstition" by Stevie Wonder about 500 times last month because it's on my Halloween playlist. But
Nice.
all right, so we'll give Cade the point on that, and we're going to number 2. So, what famous scene was shown from the original Thing? It was also shown in Halloween when they were watching The Thing. It was shown on the TV. Well, what
Oh.
scene was it? Because it popped up in this movie too. All you have
Oh.
to do is describe it to me.
Wait a minute.
it
So
Bryson?
this movie isn't the
Bryson.
original?
This movie is not necessarily a remake of the original, but it is. 'cause-
Really? I thought this was the original.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that
I've
there
learned
was
something new.
Yeah, there was
pretty
one that
sure
came
that
out in
there
the
was a-
50s.
Yeah.
Well,
from
it has
Howard
to
Haw-
be because Halloween was 78. This movie didn't come out to
Yeah.
82, something like that. So
from
Yeah.
Howard
Yeah.
Hawks, the Howard Hawks,
Okay.
The Thing.
Okay.
And
Yep.
you've got
Alright.
a group of scientists that find an alien in Antarctica. And there is
Yeah.
a certain scene that actually Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace are watching.
Yes.
Can
and
I take a
it pops
guess?
up in this. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bryson.
Was it the scene where it was panned out and they were showing the saucer on the ground and they were like walking in the rectangle that was cut out of the ice?
They were standing side by side around the big crater.
Yeah.
And
Nice,
that
dude.
is
I
the
did not
same
catch
scene
that.
that's shown. That's the same
Cool.
scene that's shown in Halloween. And I think that John Carpenter did that purposely.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
Nice.
Oh, I guarantee you, 100%.
So
yeah.
I'll go ahead and give Bryson the point on that.
Cool.
It also whenever they were circled around Bennett, whenever they burnt the body, they were kind of standing in the exact same way as that. So, that's another little tidbit.
Was Bennett letting off some steam while he was at it?
Nah, I'm sure
Blow
that
off
he
some steam.
was. Let off some steam, Bennett. How dare you take my daughter? You do not take my daughter to the island. Okay, here we go. Now, number 3, because only Corky would have known that one. That's from Commando. And honestly, we probably
Yes.
need to do Commando.
Yes.
It's not a horror movie, but man, we could put it as a awesomely bad B movie.
That would fall definitely in the awesomely bad category.
Yeah, it would.
100%.
Number 3, okay. How many hours did the computer say it would take to infect the entire human
Bryson.
population?
Ah,
Bryson,
I got this too.
27,000 hours.
27,000 hours.
which
Which
equals
is
up
how
to a little
long
over
if you
3
convert
years.
it into days? Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Ooh,
just a little over 3
interesting.
years.
How many, Bryson? How many?
Just a little over 3 years.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
All right. Just a
It's
little over 3
1100
years,
days,
man.
1125.
Man, you're pretty quick. Here we go. Number 4. What percentage did that computer say one or more of
Cade.
the team members was infected?
Oh.
Cade?
75%.
75% is right.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I had my numbers
Yeah.
inverted.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was thinking 97.
All right, so we got 2 more. What's our standings?
Right now it's 2-2, me and Bryson.
All right, Corky, you got to get in there, man. You got to come in.
I'm just
bud.
over here waving. Hi, guys. I'm just happy to be here, you know.
Same.
I'm just happy
All right,
to
here
be
we go.
here.
And we've just now discussed this. So, describe to me what McCready's test was.
Bryson.
Okay, Corky.
Okay, I heard Corky first.
All right, so he's going to take a sample of everybody's blood, stick some heat to it, and see how it reacts to the heat or fire or whatever you want to say.
And basically a makeshift petri dish. Yes. Corky with the point.
Nice, Corky.
And
Give me that
now
point
here we go.
now.
This is either this question is so important because this question is either for the 3-way tie, or the question is between Bryson and Cade for the win. So here we go. How many people started at the camp?
Cade.
Bryson.
I heard Cade first.
So if we're just talking about the people at the camp, there were 12.
That is correct. That is correct. I was not referring to the Sweden people, Norwegian people, the other guys. I wouldn't count them. I was just counting McCready's team, and McCready's team should have had 12 people.
So Cade takes the trivia challenge this week. Good job,
Cade took it. Cade took it.
I
I've
appreciate
got
it,
a
guys.
bonus question that's a bit of a trick question, though.
So if I get it, I can win. Let's do it.
Yes.
So it's actually got 2 different answers, but what outpost was the crew stationed in?
Cade.
Yeah, Cade.
So the 2 answers, there's one, it's Outpost 31, but also on the sign, I believe it says something about Outpost 4.
Yeah, you got both of them. So yeah, the sign says National Science Institution Station 4. But when Windows is in the comm center and he's trying to get a hold of somebody, he keeps saying Outpost 31. And apparently
I don't get
it wasn't
I don't understand
error.
why it's different.
They revised the script and there was an error in the revision of the script because the sign said 4, but Windows said 31. Yeah,
you got to love those continuity problems.
Yeah,
that's probably why they didn't show up. You know, they probably could have gotten rescued if he'd have just said 4 instead of 31.
Said the right outpost.
Yeah,
dude, he wasn't even close.
They're 300 miles. They're 300 miles away. They're watching penguins. You know, they're 300 miles away. Going, where's everybody at?
Or maybe Outpost 31, like 3 and 1 makes 4. Maybe that's what they were messing. I don't know. I bet it was a continuity error. That's funny.
You got to love the continuity errors.
Is that the only one you got, Bryson?
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of other ones that I thought might be asked, but that was the most interesting.
All right, guys, listen, if you're listening to this podcast and your love for horror movies isn't just something you watch, it's definitely an identity. So if you want clothing that reflects your passion, whether you're at a convention, a midnight screening, or just chilling on the couch watching a classic slasher, then you need to check out our new sponsor, Cult of Cult Clothing Company. Now, Cult of Cult, they create original, high-quality gear for the dedicated horror fans. You know, we're talking shirts, hoodies, apparel with incredible designs inspired by everything we celebrate on the show. Shoot, I just ordered that Halloween 3 hoodie, man. It is so dope, man. I love that thing. So if you're, into the horror genre, man, then it's definitely time to upgrade your wardrobe. Go visit thecultofcult.com and check out their merchandise, man. And as you check out, they're giving our listeners a sweet deal, man. Enter the code HORRORPOD at checkout to get 10% off of your entire order.
When asked.
All right, cool. Well, I tell you guys what, before we break down the ending of the movie, I got a theory I want to tell everybody about. I'm going to get everybody's take on it. So I've done some digging when I was researching this movie, and there's a theory going Now, who was it that was calling for help? What was his name? Windows?
Windows. Yeah.
Windows was the guy that was always trying to call for help, and they kept telling him, keep trying, and through the whole movie, he never was able to reach anybody, right? So a theory about this movie is perhaps these aliens have been all over the world and wiped out everybody else, and the people in Antarctica are just the last people that they get to. And that's why he was never able to reach anybody, is because nobody's left to hear him. So what do you guys think about that theory?
It's a flawed
that's
theory.
pretty cool. The only thing I think that could support that is if they showed up to find the alien that they had uncovered. Like maybe a tracking beacon or something, because the Norwegians, when they uncovered them, I think McCready's guys said that this thing had been under the ice for like 1,000 years, because of the amount of ice layers that were on it to cut it out of there. So if it's going to be in the ice for 1,000 years, maybe when it was like resurfaced, it let off a beacon, and then more showed up after that.
So I also think that the theory is flawed because of what the computer said. It would take 75,000 hours to infect the whole world. So based on that math, if you're saying that the computer is, even an estimation of being correct, McCready and his crew have not been in Antarctica for 3 years at that point.
Right.
Or for over 3 years.
Yeah.
True statement. Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just something that was just a theory I read online. No, you're fine. I was just saying that was just a theory I read online. I thought it was interesting, but I never looked at it how Daniel just looked at it. So that kind of debunks that theory. But, good job, Daniel. So, I haven't said that. We will move on to the final part of the movie.
Third act time right here.
Yeah, baby. In the final act, the few uninfected men realize that the aliens' ultimate goal is to assimilate all life on Earth, and their only option is to ensure it is destroyed on the ice before a rescue team arrives. They rig the entire outpost with explosives. The final confrontations takes place in the station's generator room, where the Blair thing, now a massive, multi-limbed creature, attempts to sabotage their plan. McCready manages to detonate the explosives, sacrificing the entire station to destroy the thing's central mass. Exhausted and barely injured, McCready stumbles into the burning ruins only to encounter Childs, the last remaining man who had gone missing during the chaos. As the last two survivors slowly freeze to death, they share a bottle of liquor. The film ends on a note of perfect, chilling ambiguity. Both men are too tired and too cold to continue fighting, and neither knows if the man sitting across from him is a human ally, or the final triumphant form of the deadly alien that's out there to kill him. So, how do you guys think the ending worked, man? Yeah,
Well,
man, I get tongue-tied,
Yeah, so there's a couple of things about this, and this brings up the question that I wanted to pose to everybody. We may have already answered it, and maybe I'm just too stupid to understand the movie. But, Wilford Brimley, okay?
Diabetes
himself
Mm-hmm.
pulled up the floor in that little shack that he was in, tunneled under, and was building some kind of vehicle or ship or something to get
a spaceship.
And he was the thing at that point. He was infected. But my question is, was Wilford Brimley infected before or after he was incarcerated in that little shack?
So
I think he was infected when they put him in there, in my opinion.
I've got my thoughts on that. If y'all don't mind.
All right, go ahead. I want to hear
them. So there's a certain point where they leave him in there. He's obviously really distraught. They had, he had that tantrum and was destroying everything. He was not infected at that point because I don't think the thing would behave that way, especially knowing that it was trying to fit in with everybody. It would kind of be a clear indicator, like, hey, this is not normal.
Right.
Well, they check back up on Blair at one point. You look in there and you notice, like, there's actually a noose hanging up. At some point, maybe he was considering taking his own life, but he starts saying these weird things to them, like along the lines of, "Hey, just let me out, just let me back in." I really want to. Yeah, and
I'm good now.
Yeah, it was really strange. And they even kind of McReady, he even took notice of that, just shut the door and just left. Well, I'm thinking that at some point, the thing came in contact with them. We do know that a part of it did separate from the original organism at the beginning of the movie and was just running around rampant around the facility. So I'm thinking he did get infected after he was incarcerated or put up in the shed there. One of the cool thing
Okay.
too about him is that when we first see Blair attack Gary and like rip his face off essentially, John Carpenter distinctly plays this song. It's like a really sharp song or sharp sound, sorry. And what's funny is when we saw the assistant biologist, can't remember his name because it's like 50 of them in this movie. When he gets murdered, we hear that same sound and we don't know who killed him. So basically, when we hear that sound, we say, hey, actually, Blair killed him. Was running around rampant for a while actually while everybody was doing their thing. So I thought that was pretty
That's right.
cool towards the end of the movie.
And John Carpenter is known for his soundtracks and different sound effects, his music and whatnot. John Carpenter is actually a musician himself. He has a band. He plays with Tommy Lee Wallace and Nick Castle and a couple of other of his core buddies. I don't know that they actually like tour or anything, but Alan Hallworth, which did the soundtrack for Halloween 2 and also Halloween 4. He's also in that band. And they, there's countless soundtracks. Christine is another one that they did the soundtrack for. You always know a John Carpenter soundtrack whenever you start hearing the sharp, high pitch kind of things. And you also have those low kind of bass like the dum, 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 dum. It presents itself already. But that kind of just goes hand in hand with what you were saying, Cade, with the sound effect. And it is also misdirection because now you don't know if Wilford Brimley killed the guy or if the other guy was infected and now he's killed the guy. Because there was two guys that was helping McCready. And both of them were killed, but you don't know if both of them was killed by Wilford Brimley or not. And Childs at this point
Diabetes.
Childs at this point is running around with a flamethrower, not helping nobody. So
So I got two things for you, and I'm gonna try to not be long winded on either one of them. But just to touch on the soundtrack for this movie was really good. And it was actually the first John Carpenter film that the original music was not done by John Carpenter, but it was done by Ennio Morricone, and he worked with Carpenter to like have those low bass notes. Like he really based John Carpenter's ideas and past movies' ideas to make the music for this movie. But what's funny is unused music that he made for this movie, it was composed for this film, was later used by Morricone in Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. And what's ironic about this is The Thing, he was nominated for a Razzie for worst score, but the score for The Hateful Eight won him an Oscar. Yeah, he got a Razzie. He was nominated for the worst score for this movie, but yet the unused music composed for this movie was used in The Hateful Eight, and he won an Oscar off of the score.
That goes back to the people that were doing the judging, like they've never seen this movie.
Idiots.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The people,
exactly.
they don't know what they're talking about. That's like whenever Jethro Tull won, best metal album over Metallica. Jethro Tull is anything but metal. He's got a flute. Granted, he's rock and roll, but he's not metal, and he won the Grammy or whatever it was that one year over Metallica for best metal. And
that is insane.
It just goes to show the people that are doing the judging are not us. We need to be the people that are doing the judging.
Yes, I agree with
that. And then I also
you guys
just
need to be
wanted
the
to
judges.
touch on kind of what Cade was saying, where y'all were asking, when do you think Blair was taken over? I kind of agree with Cade. I think that he was taken over after he was put in the storeroom outside. And I think it might have happened when McCready's clothes were found outside all ripped up. I think someone might have planted his clothes and then went and infected Blair so that he could start digging the tunnel while they all tested each other and, kind of wasted time so Blair could get started on the spaceship. And I might have to go
Right.
back and look at continuity with that because you did have Blair destroying the helicopter. And it makes me wonder if while he was destroying the
To get the
helicopter, he was
parts.
getting the parts.
To get the
So
parts.
Yeah,
I'd have to
maybe.
look back and think, how long was McCready's clothes out there in comparison to when Blair was running to the helicopter and then running back. I'd have to go back and look at that time frame, but
Yeah.
somewhere I feel like that might be kind of connected.
Because
I
whoever
agree,
that
dude.
was the one that left McCready's light on. And that was the whole
Right.
reason
Yeah.
why
Left his light
McCready
on.
and Knowles went to go check that out.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I know that we're running close on time. We've kind of went over the whole movie. There's only one question left, and it is highly debated among the horror community. And that question, Corky, if you want to ask it and pose it, go ahead. I can do it. I don't care. But you know where I'm
Go
going
ahead,
with
buddy.
this.
Go ahead.
At the end of the movie, there's two guys left. There's McCready and there's Childs. And it is highly debated among the horror community, and I'm sure that it will be on Remember That podcast. Which one, if either, was infected? And there's a couple of different conspiracy theories that people have brought to light over the years. I have my own kind of conspiracy theory there. I want to hear everybody's take on it.
I've got my opinion on this.
So
I'll try to.
Well,
yeah,
let's
go
hear
ahead,
it,
Dave.
buddy.
Yeah. So long story short, I think Childs is infected. There's a few things that happen before all the big showdown happens. So, Childs at one point decides to randomly walk outside to start surveying the area. And there's also a little hidden detail in the area that he was standing in. There were two coats hanging up. One thing we noticed in the movie too is that I believe either Palmer or Windows somebody comments the fact that, or actually Knowles does, whenever you get attacked by the thing, your clothes get torn up. Well, I'm thinking that Child he gets attacked by Blair, because Blair was running around, and that he turns into a thing. He has to grab another coat, and then he starts walking around outside because obviously the thing is pretty much doesn't get affected by the cold really. Well, also towards the end, we noticed that McCready has some alcohol on him. Well, at this point in time, he really shouldn't have the ability to get to his alcohol or his whiskey or whatever he was drinking, as they were destroying the facility. And so I'm thinking that he actually had like a bottle, like a whatever you call it, like a Molotov like cocktail thing, and that he handed it to Childs, and he starts laughing when Childs drinks it because he knows he's just drinking like straight up gas. And that's kind of why I'm thinking that Childs is infected.
Yeah, I heard that same theory. A lot of people said that he was drinking straight up gas, but did they show him take a drink of it? Or
He did.
I
Yeah,
thought
you would
Childs
think
takes
if
a
he
sip.
took a drink of it,
I
well,
thought
did
that
he
they
act like
showed
he was drinking
McCready.
gas?
No,
I
he
thought
wasn't
that they showed
affected.
McCready drinking it.
So I'd have to go back and look. I know that Childs takes a sip and McCready starts laughing. And so
Yeah.
people have kind of said that they think that he's laughing because he's like, oh, this is the thing. And obviously he knows he's going to die
But,
because
I mean,
they're all going to freeze to death.
I buy that because McCready's smart. McCready's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
McCready's
kind of buy that
backstory,
theory.
Bryson,
it
what
wasn't
you
put
got?
into the movies. McCready had a backstory that wasn't put into the movies, but it shaped his character. And apparently, he was a helicopter pilot for Vietnam. And that's like why
Oh,
he's
really?
such a light sleeper. That's why he was able to hear the dogs making those weird sounds. It woke him up he wouldn't have been in a dead sleep. He drank all the time, kind of had that PTSD. He would rather blow himself up than deal with, he's already dealt with it. He also didn't freak out as much as everybody else when it came to just all the gore and like crazy things he was seeing. But one thing is with McCready, he is smart, and he came up with the whole test to test the blood. He's been kind of trying to control everything for a while, and there is a theory that he is the thing. I don't think so. He's way too willing to kill the thing and trying to hunt it down it just doesn't make sense. You can also see a lot of
Yeah,
breath
that's
coming
what
off of him
sells
at the
it for
very
me.
end.
Yeah, that's
But
what sells it for me. He is too easily kills the thing to be the thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
McCready is unarmed at the end of this, but Childs still has a flamethrower. So technically,
really?
if McCready were to try to attack Childs, all he would have to do is just turn the flamethrower up on him. So I don't know if he realizes that they might have lost, that Childs is the thing, but he's just sitting here
Yep.
staring at him like there's nothing he can do about it because he's not the one with the weapon.
Yeah. And that's what
I
I
just
think.
rewatched that scene,
There's
Daniel.
another.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't drink the alcohol. McCready doesn't drink it. He like literally says, "Let's just see
Okay.
what happens," and then he slowly moves the alcohol bottle towards Childs, and then he drinks it, and then he starts laughing, and then it just pans out, and the movie's over.
Yeah.
Well, the theory that I kind of always vibed with was it saying that McCready had his breath shown because it's like, I don't know, 100 degrees below zero or whatever the crap. And so you could see McCready's breath, but every time that it showed Childs, you didn't see the breath. And so
Yep.
there was always that theory there that, Childs, since he was a thing, he didn't even really need to breathe. And so there was that difference that separated between McCready and Childs. But now that I've heard the alcohol theory, it makes me think even more that Childs was infected, and McCready, knowing that he had lost, he just laughed about it. And he was like, yep, I
All gonna
guessed
freeze to
right, but
death.
what am I going to do? You're the...
Yeah,
I'm
what am
going
I
to
gonna
freeze
do?
to
We're
death.
dead anyhow.
Yeah.
I'm going to freeze to death. You have the flamethrower. I can't do anything about it. And, you're just waiting. Basically, you're just waiting until some more people come along to infect them. Because that was what one of the things that McCready said earlier whenever they were hunting down the thing is this thing just wants to go to sleep. It just wants to go to sleep and wait this thing out for more people. McCready understood that his death was inevitable at that point, and he just accepted it.
Right. That's the way I feel about it. That's
And
why
I
he
don't know
was
if it was
smiling and let's see what happens.
like a detail thing that
All
they
right,
put
well-
the extra effort into. Oh, my bad. John.
No,
Kurt.
I was just... No, go ahead.
Oh no. Kurt Russell would take a drag off of a cigarette and then go into frame and breathe to produce more of the effect of seeing his
Oh,
breath
really?
outside. So I
Really?
don't know
Okay.
if that was like a
All right.
That's
detail
cool.
that they put in there, like to have the extra effort, just to make it look more
Yeah.
realistic, or if they were really trying to push that idea of like, look at his breath, like you can see his breath, but you can't see, Child's breath. But yeah, he would take a drag off a
Right.
cigarette.
I think so.
apparently, that's what I read, and to show more like
Okay.
being able to see his breath because they filmed this in Los Angeles or parts of it.
You mean
I think the
they
indoor
they
parts.
weren't in Antarctica? Shoot.
They weren't at the South Pole. What you mean?
Right.
Not crazy.
Well,
Dang.
all right.
Well,
So
cool.
before we rank this thing, Cage, you had mentioned you had seen Childs before in a couple of movies, and he's been in a couple of big name movies. But the one that I remember him from is none other than Frankenbeans himself. There's something about Mary, and he was Mary's stepdad.
Oh, cool.
That's where I remember Childs, and David Keith is it David Keith or Keith David? Because there's two actors.
David.
One
Oh,
of them is
his name?
Keith David.
I think
Okay,
it's Keith
so
David.
yeah, Keith David. Okay, so Keith David is a phenomenal actor. I love him in everything that I've seen him, but that's the one thing that I remember him always is being in There's Something About Mary. But I want to go ahead and I guess it's about time to rank this thing. So
Yeah, let's do
I'll
it.
go ahead and start off. Like I said before, it was kind of out of sight, out of mind my whole life. When I was younger, I saw this movie, when I was younger, and then I've seen it once or twice over the years since then, and I never really give it much credit. It was always a low ranking John Carpenter movie for me, but over the past few years, I've really started to get into some of these older movies, and I love this movie. based on that, I'm not going to go into all of the things that got me this ranking, but I am at an overall 7.6, which rounds to an 8.
Nice.
And I think it's well deserved.
Heck
Fair
yeah.
enough.
Bryson, won't you go next, buddy?
I gave this thing technically a 9.6 out of 10, which rounds up to a 10 out of 10. Love this movie. Hands down, one of my favorites. The storytelling is great. All the foreshadowing is great. The score just really fits the movie, keeps it going. Those practical effects are through the roof. Like I mentioned before, it kind of became a benchmark for practical effects moving forward. And just the whole feel of that movie where everybody's kind of in a panic and you don't really know, who's real, who's not real. It kind of throws you into that story. And yeah, just going back to the beginning, all the mystery of it all from the very first shot of them chasing that dog with that helicopter, it leaves you guessing the whole time, all the way until the end. And then when the credits roll, you're still guessing, is Childs, the thing? Is McCready the thing? Are they both just human? You never stop asking questions. And I can't give this movie anything but a 10 out of 10.
Awesome. Cade, what do you give it, buddy?
Yeah, well said, Bryson. I completely agree with him. I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10. This is probably one of my favorite movies, favorite horror movies of all time, and like what John Carpenter did in the first Halloween movie, leaving you with questions and mystery. Especially in that movie, we're worried about Michael Myers, but this time worried about this alien from outer space, and we don't know who's infected. We see these guys break down. We have an ending to the movie that is just completely open-ended. I just love it when people do that and don't tell you exactly what's going on. It's open to your own interpretation. This is hands down one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and I'm just glad that I can watch it for this review. So, and maybe nerd out a lot. I guess you might be able to tell from the show this time, but I'm at a 10 out of 10.
Oh no, man, it's 100%, man. I agree. It's a solid movie.
Yeah. Well, for myself, I'll go ahead and let you guys know. The special effects were awesome. The movie was awesome. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 because to me, it's just one of those classics. I wish that I'd gave it a more of a chance growing up.
Yeah.
Because I would have loved to have taken this movie in back when it was, newer and back in those early days in the 80s and stuff like that. But I'm kind of like Daniel. It just went out, wasn't on my radar for some reason. But
it just wasn't my thing back then. It just wasn't your thing.
It just But man, it's a good movie, man. It's definitely one of those that I'm going to watch, at least once or twice a year now. So 10 out of 10 for me. Kate, what's that give us as a collective?
Yeah, average is a 9.
9.5.
Yeah, we're averaging.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
We can just go ahead and say that Brent gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, Brent would have gave it a 10.
Brent would have given it a 10 out of 10.
So we can just say
I'm
10
sorry
out of 10.
We'd call it a 10 then. That'd get our average to 10.
Thank you, Brent.
But before we get off here, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to our partner DUBBY. If you will go ahead and use our what's our code?
Remember that.
It's remember that to get 10% off with DUBBY.
Well, hey, now until the end of the month, you get 30% off. So now is a great time going into Thanksgiving. They're running a special. If you use our code now and until the end of November, you get 30% off instead of 10%. So get those orders in for that DUBBY. Get it in before the end of November. Use that code, remember that, and you're going to get 30% off your entire order instead of 10%. So
that's right.
Jump on that deal while it's out there.
I've tried 2 flavors so far, and I am impressed. I am impressed.
And don't forget Cult of Cult, man. They got those awesome, throwback movie T-shirts and stuff like that. Don't forget about them.
I'm waiting on my Halloween 3 hoodie as we speak. I'm waiting for it.
All right. So if you go to thecultofcult.com, check out all their merchandise, and if you use the code HorrorPod there, you'll get 10% off your order there. So visit our sponsors, use our codes. That helps us out, helps them out, and you know what? Helps you get some cool merchandise.
Yeah, man.
But hey, the thing gets a solid 10 from the Remember That crew. Having said that, guys, we'll get back at it next week. See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Yo, we rolling deep, let's dive into the fright. Hit that play button, we review every bite. From horror flicks that give you chills at night, to games that thrill, yeah, we get it right. Remember that, step back, hold tight. We'll dissect every scare, keep the vibe right. Remember that, we're here to expose the thrills, the chills where the dark wind blows. From pixels on screens to the sound that glows. Join us forever, that's how the story goes. Now let's talk beats, we break down the sound. From underground hits to the mainstream crown. Music that moves, lifts you off the ground. Tune into our rhythm, let the passion rebound. Let's reminisce, before we fight. From underground hits to the mainstream crown. Let's reminisce, every song, every fight. We'll vibe through the shadows, shining our light. Remember that, we're here to expose the thrills, the chills where the dark wind blows. From pixels on screens to the sound that glows. Join us forever, that's how the story goes. So plug in, we're on this ride tonight. Remember that, keeping horror in sight.